All right, folks, we're back. It's top of the second inning, and Dr. Whaley is in here in the box, ready to take the swing of the question.
Absolutely.
I couldn't do it any other way, Doc. I've
right.
done it for 2 nights.
I got to take over. He's fatigued.
I'm telling everybody, just drag me through it. Hey, it's time for Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. We want to thank Georgia Cancer Research Center, affiliated with Northside Hospital, for this segment. How are you today, sir?
Great. I'm going to take the ball and run with it now because you're tired.
No, that's football.
Well, no, I'm running out to relieve the guy.
Got it. We'll take that.
We're pulling the pitcher.
All right.
All right. It's pouring down rain in Blue Ridge.
Yes.
The pollen count is falling. It's absolutely gorgeous, and there's not one hotel room or bed and breakfast room available for the weekend in Fannin County. We're entertaining a provider for our group, has to stay with my partner in her guest house. So Fannin County is buzzing this weekend. I don't know whether everybody came up here to watch high school baseball or whether they came up here to have spring in the mountains, but they're up here. So anyway, that's my introduction, and you can pick it back up now. How you go?
That's your introduction. Caught me off there. Okay, which question we going with?
We got to go with the second one there, the HPV. This is a very, very, very important question, and I'm gonna pull you out.
Here we have exactly some of the things you always ask you want in the question.
Exactly.
Big time. You always like the age and if it's a male or female. So I am 37. I am a 37-year-old female and my daughter is 16. She came home and said her friend received a shot to prevent cancer. She called it an HPV shot. Is this something I should get for her, and what about me? When should adults get the what's that second big word?
Human papillomavirus HPV vaccine.
Break that question down.
Okay, first thing I'm going to do is say this is probably, in terms of preventable cancer, the most important question we've had here in 3 or 4 years. We always talk about preventing cancer by not smoking,
right,
preventing cancer by not being obese, preventing cancer by staying out of the sun and wearing sunscreen. We're talking about preventing cancer in a passive fashion. This, the HPV vaccine, is an active cancer prevention step that you can take that is dramatically important. So this is in 2 pieces, and my soapbox, they moved my soapbox because it's raining. Otherwise, I'd be standing on my soapbox. So Josh is going to put up, we've seen this before with different sorts of questions. This is recommended, okay, go ahead.
Recommended adult immunization schedule by age group. United States 2019.
Well, 2019, folks, is this year. So I'm not going to go through the top one, which is, you can see there's a lot of stuff there. I want to help you. You don't have to read it. But the top one's the flu. The third one's measles. We're all big on measles right now, right?
Absolutely.
And the fourth one down there is that new shingles shot I told you about a few weeks ago for everybody over age 50. We're going to come back to number 3, which is our second question. So let's go down to here. Human papillomavirus is the next one down here, and it is recommended for all children and adolescents beginning at about age 12. So your daughter at age 16, right?
Yes.
Should have had this shot 4 years ago. But you asked about adults. So this is adults. Here you go. You got to get in here now. All right, that says 19 to 21, 23 through 26. Anybody that's in that age group, and I, by the way, just raised it up to here, so anybody that's in this age group of 50 and under, recommended male and female take the HPV immunization. One more time. Male and female.
Male and female.
It starts at age 19 because they figured that most kids have already gotten it by age 19. Right. This girl's 16. She's asking about adults. When should adults? That's what she said. I'm focusing on adults, folks. That's what she asked. Starts at age 19, goes to age 49. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes.
All right. When we come back to that, I want to know if you've not had the vaccine, why is it like they almost recommend after 50 don't do it? Why? I mean, you're going to cover that with me?
Well,
Am
after
I ahead of you?
Well, after age 50, you don't have a chance. If you've got the HPV virus in you and it's been there for 50 years, taking the vaccine isn't going to help you.
Now it's not preventative.
It's not preventative. This is a prevention we're talking about.
Right, okay.
All right, this next one here, this has got, see all these little tiny numbers? They go up to 52. There are actually 52 different strains of the HPV virus. Now, flu, there's hundreds and hundreds of flus. They say this year it's the H1N1 and the A2B2, all right, lots of strains. So they cause different things, from warts on your finger to what you would call venereal warts to ulcerations and so forth in your mouth, oral pharyngeal, cause all sorts of things that are not malignant but are troublesome. You still with me?
Yes.
All right, now we're going to go to the pyramids. Let's go to the big pyramid. These are cancers. This was a cancer question she asked, right?
Right.
If you look at the big pyramid, this is 530,000 cases of cervix cancer per year, the bottom of the pyramid.
Right.
We're going to come back to the top of the pyramid here in just a few minutes. But we're going to go next to this big arrow. You got it, Josh? This is sort of an estimation of the number of people who have the HPV virus and the number of cancers caused by the HPV virus over the period of the last 5 years. I mean, that looks like national debt or something, doesn't it? Just a gigantic arrow up. So you want to ask yourself, how many people are we actually talking about here that have had or have HPV in their system? And interestingly enough, as I've said before, if you take herpes with the fever blister and everything else, by the time you get to your age 50, about 95% of the adult American population is infected with the herpes virus. The HPV virus is in about 70% of people by the time they get to age 50, 70%. So if giving you those shots in your teenage years or your 20s can prevent that number that's 70s by the time you get to age 50, we're going now to the top of the pyramid. Here, there is a rapid increase, as we said last week, wasn't it? We were doing head and neck cancer, or was it
Yes.
the week before that? These head and neck cancers used to be the World War II veteran smoking when he was 16 on D-Day and all that, got free cigarettes in his C rations, had a higher than average alcohol intake. So during my period of medical school, when the World War II veterans were in their 40s and 50s, virtually all the head and neck cancer we saw was in men, smokers, alcohol users, and there were tons of veterans. Today, it's 95% non-smoker, non-alcohol, HPV related. So this huge pyramid right there, plus that 530,000 cases that you've got over there, are all preventable. You can pull that off the screen. All preventable malignancies that could occur if people took the recommended vaccine, HPV vaccine, when they were in adolescence, or having missed it, take it now. But my soapbox is on the people who don't believe in taking vaccines, right?
I know.
Head and neck cancer, cervical cancer kills you. There is no statistical evidence. Nobody's ever actually linked HPV virus anyway to this autism or everything else that the expert panels.
Don't get us in trouble now. Things are going real well.
Expert panel conspiracy theorists think about vaccines. But the HPV vaccine does not have any known associated negatives with taking it. Now we're going to get into the parenting issue and into the psychological, ethical issue. When that vaccine was originally released, and the recommendations were to give it to all adolescents before the age of 12, sort of the conservative religious community said, wait a minute, you're giving this to these young kids because you are expecting them to be sexually active. And you are expecting them to be sexually active with multiple sexual partners. And this is sort of an anti-abstinence message. A healthcare professional doesn't really have a horse in that race. But we do have a horse in the race, the fact that after you get to age 50, the majority of the people in this country, 70% or more, are affected by the HPV virus. We do have a horse in the race that there are, close to 1 million cases a year of preventable cancer related to that virus. And it makes sense then that the population get immunized against that virus. So I'm staying out of that. You're giving it to them because you think they're going to be sexually active, and just stick with the pure epidemiologic medical explanation that it isn't going to hurt them and it might help them, and they aren't going to get autism, and let your kids have the vaccine. And this 37-year-old female is well within the group that ought to have the vaccine. Does that get her through there all right?
Yes, and I do want to highlight, as Dr. Whaley says, please, now send your questions. Info, I-N-F-O, at fetchernews.com. Send questions. You can post questions on our social media page. I know a lot of you see our Ask the Doc segment on social media, and you put questions there. We try to find them. But what Dr. Whaley likes to have, male, female, and age especially, and it helps you answer those questions more directly to the individual.
Right. Well, the next one's well written too because it's got occupation and exposure in it. So
let's go to our second question.
Right.
And before we do, we want to thank Georgia Cancer Research Center affiliated with Northside Hospital for this question. I am a 42-year-old male. I stepped on a nail at work. I am in construction. Everyone said I needed to go to the ER, but I think it's fine, and I wanted to know what are symptoms of tetanus. Did I get that right?
you did. Symptoms of tetanus are death. You like that one?
No, I'm gonna tell you my actual experience here when you're done.
Go ahead.
Okay, so all right, I got all this, but not construction. Now I used to work construction, get a nail. So stay with me here. I got to tell the first part of the whole story. Don't work.
All right.
So I'm 8 years old. So what I used to do for hours, no joke, is I'd go out and I would throw my baseball up on the roof of the house, and I couldn't see it. And see, this is why I was at that time, probably still could bat 400, but this is why I was awesome at 8, okay? So when that ball comes off the roof, I don't know where it's coming, and I can make that big play, right? So I'm running and jumping, making the big play. So we go to visit my grandmother, and I have a whole new roof configuration to work with. So I'm throwing the ball up on the roof, it comes down, I run and catch it. So one time I run and catch it, and I don't know it, there was a piece of wood, and it was a big 16-penny nail. And I go down flat on it as hard as I can. Sorry about that at home.
Tennis shoes went right through the sole.
And through the top of my foot.
Yeah.
All right, so my aunt is there. She don't know if nobody's home. She don't know if she's supposed to pull it or what. Next thing you know, I'm 8 years old. My ambulance headed up there. They pull it out, right? And they gave me a tetanus shot. But later that night, my leg was aching really, really bad. And my aunt, which was a nurse, she comes in and she tells my dad, she said, we got to get him to the hospital. I said, you see these red lines coming up?
Oh, yeah.
Blood poisoning.
Yes, that's silly.
Said, you see these red lines starting up his leg? If they get to his heart. And next thing I know, I was in the hospital 48 hours.
IV antibiotics.
Right.
Penicillin back in that day.
Probably.
That was back before
But-
dirt.
Hey,
Horse and buggy days.
But serious, so that
right.
I've experienced this, and those red lines were coming up my leg.
Well, if they clotted, you've still got some pigmentation where those veins were. If you look real carefully at your skin.
So
But we're not going to make you take your pants off and look at it.
42 year. I know.
All right.
Do I need to go to the ER?
All right, let's start with
You can say whether they need to or not. I'm not going to tell them.
All right. But first of all, I'm going to say that you don't ever want to go to the ER because it costs $1,000 if you can prevent going to the ER, right?
Okay.
Might even cost more than $1,000.
Yeah, but this was back before dirt. It was
Yeah, but I'm talking-
$29.99 when I went.
Yeah, I'm talking about this guy here. All right, let's get back to the immunization chart. Josh, you got it up? Second one, right behind the...
Tetanus.
Whoa, but read it real carefully.
With tetanus?
Tetanus, diphtheria,
Diphtheria.
pertussis. Okay, they call it a Tdap. Now, you remember we've had lots of discussions here about adult whooping cough, big epidemic 2 years ago out in Washington State. Remember we were talking about that? This is a recommended immunization. Look at this. Everybody between age 19 and the grave.
All right, but let me ask you a question, not to interrupt you. So, is this, when I say new, like, is this not an immunization that was on the recommended or required when I was 8?
Yeah, tetanus was, and when you were 8, they probably did not have the whooping cough one. Yes, they did.
And I'm interrupted a little bit. So when you go, why do they ask you when your last tetanus?
Because what it says next is, what's let's say there?
Every 10 years.
Booster every 10 years.
Every 10 years. Okay, so that's why
All
you're
right.
always asked when
Okay.
you had your last.
All right. Now they were asking about the symptoms of tetanus. I always like to go to classical art, where they have in classical art made pictures of dwarfs or made pictures of people with a goiter. That's the classic symptom of tetanus in that beautiful picture made by a Dutch artist in the 1700s or 1600s. But you see how he's in muscle spasm,
Yes.
arms like this, back arched. That's a
drawn.
really nice picture, isn't it? Isn't that pretty? Can they see the color? Is it real good color there? Yeah, okay, good. So when you talk about symptoms of tetanus, I talk about death. That's the historical symptom of tetanus. We're going to talk about our guy now. This is our guy next. He stepped on the nail, right?
Right.
Now, it's showing this virus going up to his brain, going up to the nerves that are in his body. Here's at the lower right-hand corner is a sort of a picture of how that thing looked. And if you look right there, he's got a facial grimace. So let's get, that is called, you remember what tetanus is called? Lockjaw.
Yeah.
Lockjaw, remember that? Okay, so in this country, we describe tetanus as lockjaw. But in the rest of the world, in Europe, they think of tetanus as that posture of breathing like that. So now this is the guy stepping on the nail. Let's show the next one. That stepping on a nail is only a tiny part of the injuries that you get that can be associated with tetanus. Now, if that injury right there on that knee, you got the knee up there, if that doesn't look like every kid you've ever seen on the playground, or you've done 20-something innings of baseball in the last 2 days,
Yes.
there are probably 6 or more of those injuries that have occurred in the 2 days you've watched baseball
Absolutely.
on the field.
Yes.
Remember now that we had a big epidemic of MRSA in baseball players and football players in grammar school and high school here a few years ago, and that's the injury that would have given it to them. That injury also can give you tetanus. So, tetanus shots you have to have, the rules are you have to have it to get in kindergarten and first grade, unless you've got one of these anti-vaccine people who say, I'm not immunizing my kid against anything, like just look at the measles epidemic we got going on. So in truth, this guy should do nothing, assuming he's had his tetanus shot when he was in school, and as a construction worker, he should make sure that he has this Tdap immunization every 10 years. Well, if he goes to see Dr. Tidman or goes to see Dr. Pittman or any of the family practitioners around here, when you go in there for your visit, they give you a form that you're supposed to check off, and it asks you when you had the last one of those at your first visit. Well, from that point forward, if you said I had it when I was in high school and you're 40, they recommend right then, okay, you need to get a flu shot, you need to get the pneumonia shot. I'm not going to go back to here and show you the pneumonia shot, but you need a Tdap vaccine. And then their office and their system should tell you every decade to get it. Well, you don't get it unless you're regularly seeing your doc, right? If you can't afford it, then you go down to the health department here, and the health department will give you that shot, and they'll keep a record every 10 years at the cost of the shot. So I would tell you, this county right here is just growing like a weed. There's construction going on everywhere, and the construction's even going on in the pouring down rain. So I would say everybody in the construction business, if you can't remember you had a Tdap shot in the last 10 years, you go see your family practitioner and get that dadgum shot, because this is a deadly disease. Once you got that far along as lockjaw and you get to the hospital and they start treating you, all of them don't get well. Some of them dead. So the symptoms of tetanus are dead. It's too late to worry about symptoms. This is a prevention disease. So the first question we had today was an active prevention of cancer. It prevents tons of them. Go get your vaccination. I didn't ask the questions. I just answer them. Well, second question's a preventable disease that people up here in the mountains are at risk for. People live on farms. They go out hunting in the woods all the time. They're doing construction everywhere, and all they got to do is every 10 years go get that shot.
Well, in my example earlier, one thing I left out, I'm pretty sure that's what, remembering back that long ago, that's what happened when I went to the ER. They gave me a tetanus shot, but what I was told later was the nail was rusty.
Oh yeah,
and it was that's why I got the blood poisoning from the rusty nail.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do with tetanus.
Right,
absolutely nothing to do with tetanus.
So
and actually, it wasn't the rust; it's just a dirty nail. Because a brand new clean nail right out of the box can have bacteria on it. And this is that thing where they MRSA. If that was today, that infection you had, instead of being strep, which it was a skin strep, could have been MRSA. Then you'd have been in the hospital for 2 weeks on fancier antibiotics. MRSA did not exist in your youth. Now, where did MRSA come from? It came from people giving too many antibiotics to people who didn't need them. So when somebody went to the doctor with a cold and they go, I got a cold, I need penicillin or something, and the busy doctor, just to get them out of the office, wrote the prescription for penicillin and gave it to them, and they had a staph, that staph became resistant to penicillin. What does MRSA mean? Methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. That exists purely because people took too many antibiotics and allowed that bacteria to become resistant to a penicillin-like drug.
Well, at the very minute I read this question, I was thinking, hey, guy out there, I understand stepping on that nail. Actually, through construction, we used to step on nails, just pull them out of a bottle of sneaker and keep back to work.
But it could be everything else. I mean, any kind of abrasion.
I will say this out. Don't take this, Doc. What we used to do with construction. If you stepped on a nail, if I had somebody working for me, and they stepped on a nail, and they say, "Oh, I just stepped on a nail," I said, "Pull it off. Get your shoe off. See how bloody the sock is. I'll make a judgment."
Well,
how much blood's on the sock?
There's nothing to do for it right there except
exactly.
It used to be in that day you'd put methylate or mercurochrome on it and keep it open so that it would heal. So anyway.
All right, again, we want to thank Georgia Cancer Research Center affiliated with Northside Hospital for this segment. So, Dr. Whaley, before we close today, what do you have that you've been researching or has come up as a highlight on the medical news out there?
Well, I got a low light on the medical news that came out. We were talking about vaping and so forth over the past few weeks. We were talking about the sort of freedom that adolescents have today to experiment with things. teenage overdoses, it's a headline in today's newspapers, have gone up dramatically in the last 1 year. They've gone up about 100%, 2 times, in adolescents below the age of 14. So we're not talking about teenagers breaking up at 17 or 18. It's gone up 300% in girls, 1.5% in boys, which raises the thing up to a little over 200%. But it's a real epidemic, and it seems to be increased in kids who are using pot, who are using tobacco, and who are into that business of the energy drinks, the tobacco, and the pot and stuff. I don't believe that one kid on the field or in the dugout or in the around there ushering people or selling hot dogs in the snack bar at the games you watched is in danger here. I really think that the participation in these activities that have these kids busy and they are going to perform, I think those kids are safe from the depression, the anxiety, the social isolation, and so forth that what do you call that, Facebook and all that stuff
Right,
gives
the
them.
social media.
And it's those poor kids that aren't part of something, you know, and so they're smoking weed and they're on the internet and they get depressed. So anyway, the whole thing bothers me. And listening to y'all talk today about, and so you probably watched 50 or 75 kids in the last few days, including the bench warmers and everything else, that are so busy they haven't got, you know, they're just tired. All they can do is go to school and study and play ball. They haven't got time to get in trouble. So that's one thing. The second one, go back to the measles business. People around here, I just had a colleague came back yesterday from a 6-day cruise, all tanned up and really happy, had a great cruise. Well, if they'd been on that cruise ship that's in St. Lucia, where would they be right now?
I don't know.
They'd be quarantined in St. Lucia.
All right.
They'd be out 1,000 yards from the beach with an anchor in the ground and a whole cruise ship. Nobody can get off, nobody can get on, and they don't know when they're going to get to come back to the United States, because what's on that cruise ship? Measles.
Wow.
How many
Where
cases?
was I at, Josh?
How many cases of measles, Josh?
Probably at the ball field.
How many cases of measles are on that ship? One. One case of measles is
But
on
they're
that ship.
quarantined.
That whole ship. Now, they're quarantined by the St. Lucia Health Department. St. Lucia doesn't want measles to come on to St. Lucia Island. We've already got it in this country. So, now, go back out to Orange County, California. On Saturday of last week, they had, I don't know what the movie was that came out last week that hundreds of millions of dollars raised. I mean, Star Wars.
Avengers, right?
What was it? Anyway, so there was a movie came out last week. Where's Orange County, California? L.A. So L.A., big movie town, right? One of those movie theaters that had the premiere of that movie last, I think it was on Saturday, had 4 or 5 or 6 showings. You imagine it
Right.
full. And there were 2 active cases of measles in that theater. So everybody who was in the theater, either after after the first measles case there, is liable to measles. Well, when you buy your ticket, if you pay cash for it, they don't know who you are. If you pay with a credit card,
Right.
they know who you are. So out there in Orange County now, you got all of these people in the public health department trying to get these credit card people and notify those, but they can't notify the people who bought it with cash. So they have sent out this huge advertisement. If you were in this movie theater last Saturday, you shouldn't go to work, you shouldn't go to church, you shouldn't do this, because you may have been exposed to and be carried a measles virus. So once again, I'm back here to talk about vaccinations, y'all. Take the daggone measles shot.
You were almost done.
I know. I was
Why?
almost lost.
Why?
Either that or your cruise ship gets quarantined or you get out of the movie theater. So there, I'm finished now.
You know, you glossed totally over the fact that 8 years old, I was so amazing I could catch the ball. You glossed over that. I told you my story just went
Well, yeah,
right
but you said could it hit 400 because I thought what you were going to tell me was when the ball came off, you didn't know where it was coming off, and you'd have hit it with the bat. That started with he could bat 400.
No, but I think I could still hit 400 in the big leagues. I'm your host, BKP.
Talk about hallucinations and not being able to follow data.
That question's for next week.
All right.
Okay. I don't think I have the bat speed, but I'd like to keep here thinking I've got the bat speed. Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley. Want to thank Georgia Cancer Research Center affiliated with Northside Hospital. Also, folks, if you would like to ask the doctor a question, you send that to info@fetchernews.com. Put in the subject line, Ask the Doc. Again, age, male, female, some of the particulars so he could zero in on the question. And also our social media. I know several of you, we apologize if we've overlooked them, but we've been really going through the Ask the Doc social media, and you have been putting some questions there, so we're looking for them there also. We're going to take a brief break. We're at Circuit World here in Blue Ridge, and when we get back, it's time for the All-Star Political Panel. Dr. Whaley, thank you very much.
Fun, wasn't it?
Ace is your helpful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
8 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little. North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in L.J. next to Walmart. And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in L.J. next to Walmart.
Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and L.J., Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.